Shalawam. This is the brother Yeshaya, and before I begin, I would love to give honor, glory, and praise to YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM, Yahawashi, BAHASHAM, YAHAWAH, Rawchaa, Qadash. And the title of this lesson will be, You Abandon My Flock. But to get straight into the lesson, this is going to be Ezekiel 34, verse 7, in the New Living Translation. Therefore, you shepherds, hear the word of Yahawah. As surely as I live, says the sovereign Lord, you abandon my flock and left them to be attacked by every wild animal. And though you were my shepherds, you didn't search for my sheep when they were lost. You took care of yourselves and left the sheep to starve. So the sheep it's in reference to are the sheep, the house of Israel. Those are the sheep, the lost sheep Yahawashi is searching for through the elect. To grab a precept to back this up, this is going to be Matthew 12, verse 11. What man shall there be among you? And this is the KJV. That shall have one sheep, and if it fall into a pit on the Sabbath day, will not lay hold on it and lift it out. So there you go. We have to look out for our people. That's the right manner to carry yourself. You see, we're called to feed the sheep. But what we're reading in Ezekiel 34 is going into how a lot of our people have turned their backs on Yahawah, BAHASHAM, Yahawashi. So they've turned their back ultimately on the flock, the sheep. You see, the lost sheep of Israel. To grab a precept to back that up, this is Romans 16, verse 17. Now I beseech you, brethren, mark them which cause divisions and offenses contrary to the doctrine which ye have learned, and avoid them. For they that are such serve not our Lord Yahawashi HaMashiach, but their own belly, and by good words and fair speeches deceive the hearts of the simple. And a great example of this, in my opinion, would be Geno Jennings. You know, that man seems to know what he's talking about, but he has a baby face. You see, he's unlearned. A lot of these men that teach are in it for themselves and not for the body of YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM, Yahawashi. So we got to avoid these type of individuals. So going back to Ezekiel 34, verse 8. As surely as I live, says the sovereign Lord, you abandoned my flock and left them to be attacked by every animal, by every wild animal. And that's with all these false teachings, you know, misleading our people. Hey, if the blind lead the blind, they both shall fall into a ditch. You're basically letting the sheep of the house of Israel fall into ditches by learning this word and not teaching it. By hearing people teach this and just refusing to accept it and push it forward. And though you were my shepherds, you didn't search for my sheep when they were lost. And really, this is to the Israelites, you see, who refuse to acknowledge that they're Israelites, who refuse to call on YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM, Yahawashi, who refuse the ways of the prophets. You didn't search for my sheep when they were lost. You took care of yourselves and left the sheep to starve. Therefore, you shepherds, hear the word of Yahawah. This is what the sovereign Lord says. I now consider these shepherds mine enemies, and I will hold them responsible for what has happened to my flock. I will take away their right to feed the flock, and I will stop them from feeding themselves. I will rescue my flock from their mouths. The sheep will no longer be their prey. And that's what you've seen, time and time again. Our own people tearing each other apart. But here's a precept to back up the spirit we should be in. St. John chapter 21 verse 15. So when they had dined, Yahawashi saith to Simon Peter, Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me more than these? He saith unto him, Yea, Lord, thou knowest that I love thee. He saith unto him, Feed my lambs. He saith to him again, the second time, Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me? He saith unto him, Yea, Lord, thou knowest that I love thee. He saith unto him, Feed my sheep. He saith unto him the third time. The third time is significant because it represents understanding. That's what the number 3 refers to. Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me? Peter was grieved because he saith unto him the third time, Lovest thou me? And he said unto him, Lord, thou knowest all things. Thou knowest that I love thee. Yahawashi saith unto him, Feed my sheep. Hey, and this is because obedience is better than sacrifice. To sacrifice. So let's grab this. 1 Samuel 15 and 22. Behold, which means look. Behold, to obey is better than sacrifice, and to hearken than the fat of rams. So it's better to, listen, get it right the first time. You see? Than offering up burnt offerings, which we don't do on this side. But you see, it's better to do it right the first time. You see, of course, right now the gates of mercy, this grace period is in effect, but it's gonna close. You see, so we gotta get it right and keep it pushing through the spirit and power of Yahawah, BAHASHAM, Yahawashi. So it's better to listen, the first time. So feed the sheep. That's the spirit we should be in, because when you disobey, it's like the sin of witchcraft. But to wrap this whole lesson up, I'm gonna jump to Matthew 25 and verse 26 to show you what's gonna happen with these wicked servants. So once again, Matthew 25 verse 26. His Lord answered and said unto him, Thou wicked and slothful servant, thou knewest that I reap where I sowed not, and gather where I have not strawed. Thou oughtest therefore to have put my money to the exchangers, and then at my coming I should have received mine own with usury. Yeah, let's get more into details. I'm going to jump to Matthew 25. In verse 24. And I'm going to read this in the NLT. Then the servant with the 1 bag of silver came and said, Master, I knew you were a harsh man, harvesting crops you didn't plant and gathering crops you didn't cultivate. I was afraid I would lose your money, so I hid it in the earth. Look, here is your money back. So this servant was full of excuses on why he didn't want to work. So here's how Yahawashi dealt with him. But the master replied, You wicked and lazy servant. If you knew I harvest crops I didn't plant and gathered crops I didn't cultivate, why didn't you deposit my money in the bank? At least I could have gotten some interest on it. Then he ordered, Take the money from this servant and give it to the one with the 10 bags of silver. To those who use well what they are given, even more will be given, and they will have an abundance. But for those who do nothing, so you don't feed the sheep, you don't lead them down the right path, even what little they have will be taken away. Now throw this useless servant into outer darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Okay, so judgment. I'm going to go back to Ezekiel 34. I want to read that part once again. That made me think of that precept. Ezekiel 34 and the NLT and verse, let me see which verse it was. Verse 10. This is what the sovereign Lord says. I now consider these shepherds my enemies. You know what? Because if you're not helping, you're against. If you're not with YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM, Yahawashi, you're against him. I now consider these shepherds my enemies. I will hold them responsible for what has happened to my flock, for being misled. You know, that's what it's referring to. It says, I will take away their right to feed the flock. So the Lord's taking away their talents. You know, this is what made me, the Spirit was on me to jump into the other chapter in Matthew. It says, I will take away their right to feed the flock, and I will stop them from feeding themselves. So, hey, this information, this knowledge, instead of, teaching and studying, the Lord's taking it away. I will rescue my flock from their mouths. The sheep will no longer be their prey. So the wicked of our people will no longer have authority over the Lord's elect. So, Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. I would like to close out by giving all honor, glory, and praise to YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM, Yahawashi, BAHASHAM, Rawchaa, Qadash. Shalawam to the elect of the nation of Israel.